his partner, Ann Lewis, fight to rid the decaying city of the criminal element which infests it. After being mortally wounded in the line of duty, Officer Murphy is outfitted by OCP with bulletproof titanium robotic parts and with computer-enhanced motor and sensory capabilities. He has become the ultimate super cop, RoboCop.
All right, everybody, Robert Jerdee here, and welcome to the Saturday morning cartoon edition of All Things Nerdy. Hope you're having a great Saturday. And today we are talking about the RoboCop cartoon. Now, yes, this is the same RoboCop of the R-rated Paul Verhoeven film that came out. It was popular. It was so popular, in fact, that they started making toys and games. And I mean, it became a huge intellectual property. And so they decided, of course, as you naturally do, make a cartoon for kids. And so RoboCop is a 12-episode season. So I binged them all, actually. I watched the whole thing. It's weird. It's weird, and we'll talk about that a little as we get into this. I picked one particular episode that I feel like is probably the best example of the whole series, and it's episode 2. It's called The Scrambler. And so real quick, just to catch up, and they talk about this in the intro, but a real quick catch up for you that aren't familiar with RoboCop. RoboCop is a cop by the name of Alex Murphy, who him and his partner Lewis go out one day and they get attacked by Clarence Boddicker and his crew, and Alex Murphy's lethally wounded. And so what they lethally wounded, yeah, well, it works, okay. And so what they do is they whatever humanity he has left, they put him into this robot cyborg body. He becomes RoboCop, half man, half robot, all law enforcement. And so that's okay. So that's the breakup. I mean, that's the breakup. That's the breakdown of RoboCop generally. So this episode starts off, and we have Ann Lewis and Murphy at a fancy restaurant. And Lewis, throughout the series, there are these like romantic undertones with RoboCop. Like they're partners, but she's also like, "Thanks for taking me out to dinner finally, RoboCop. I dressed up real nice for you, Robo." Like that's kind of like a romantic overtones with Ann. But so they're at this restaurant and everybody's like freaking out because, I mean, let's be honest, RoboCop takes his helmet off and you've got this like bald head with robot circuits popping out, and all the fancy people are like, "What's going on?" You know, and it's a funny scene. I mean, it's funny but sad. And RoboCop is like, "I don't feel very comfortable here. Like, I feel very awkward because everybody's staring and judging." And Ann is like, "It's okay, RoboCop. You're different, but you're human." And the saddest line, she's like, "But you know, it's okay, you're still human." And he's like, "Am I?" Oh, RoboCop. He's got we got a real existential crisis going on here with Alex Murphy. So while they're there at this restaurant, uncomfortably eating, some hoodlums come and they steal a car, one of these expensive, fancy cars from these people. And so RoboCop's like, "There's a crime, I have to leave," and he splits. And Lewis is like, "But Robo, what about me?" Like she's there at dinner, which is true. Like she's your partner, dude. Like you both hop in the car and go. But anyway. So RoboCop chases after him, and there's this great so one of the things that I think is great about the show actually is the soundtrack. There's like this awesome like vaporwave soundtrack going on as this chase is happening, and like vector screens, you know. And of course it's trying to sell the toys because there's like Robo 1 is his car, and you see like Turbo Boost and these little things happen. So a lot of merchandising happening in this scene to a cool vaporwave soundtrack. But eventually the car thieves are apprehended after RoboCop destroys a couple blocks worth of old Detroit. And he brings them back to the police station, and Lewis is there waiting like, "I can't believe you stood me up, Robo," and all this stuff. And he's like, "I am sorry, goodbye." And he splits. He's like, it's like dating Data. There's like no emotion there. Like you can't, you know, but he's still human. So anyway, so then what do we get? So then we get to the Scrambler. So after all the shenanigans happen, the cops put these guys in the prison, and Murphy goes down to get, you know, his battery charged up we meet the Scrambler. Now, the Scrambler is a genius who worked previously for OCP. Now, OCP, Omni Consumer Products, now this is part of the overarching problem of this whole series, and I guess this whole idea, really. OCP are the people who created RoboCop, right? They also own the police force, and they're also an evil mega corporation that has their hands in everything from, and as we see in other episodes, like they're totally destroying the environment illegally, and they know it. So, and there's other things going on, right? Because they're putting profits over people. But RoboCop is essentially the pawn of a evil mega corporation that owns the police, right? So it's a little weird. It's a little weird because you root for RoboCop. But he's kind of like the only person you're rooting for in this whole series, because Lewis is written poorly and the cops of OCP are not trained. There's no training for these OCP cops. They are oblivious to everything. Like, so many things happen, and RoboCop is the one cop that saves the town over and over again. I don't think it's the cops' fault, because the company that owns the police is like evil. So, okay, anyway, that was my quick rant. So we meet the Scrambler, and the Scrambler is a computer genius who got caught skimming off OCP, right? Taking money off the top. And so he's in jail now. And he hates OCP. And so he's like, I'm going after OCP. He kind of reminds me of like Dan Aykroyd meets, who am I? No, I'm not Oscar Robertson. That's a basketball player. Edward G. Robinson, thank you. Dan Aykroyd meets Edward G. Robinson. And I'm the Scrambler, see? And so he's complaining about OCP and how he's going to get his revenge on the old man and that evil corporation, that he's evil too. I mean, it's evil versus evil. And the cops are like, shut up, stupid. And so he starts devising a plan, right? And what he does is he goes to the police, or he goes to the prison library, and he hacks into the OCP database. And we see Robo's charging, right, on his little chair. He's got a chair that he charges on. That's his charging dock. And Dr. Tyler, who's the doctor who created RoboCop, in this animated universe, Dr. Tyler created RoboCop. There was no, what was his name, Bobby from OCP? Bobby? No, that was someone else. Oh, God. I can't think of it. Ferrer. But anyway, you know who I'm talking about. I'm going to put his image up right here. But Dr. Tyler created him, and so she's working on, I need to increase his reflexes by 0.2%, all that stuff. But she's like, yes, this is RoboCop's password. This is how you hack into RoboCop. And she leaves it on the computer the whole day, right? And so when she's finally ready to leave, she's like, oh, I can't believe I left the password on the monitor this whole time. Someone could have seen it. Of course, that's what happens. This is when the guy hacked into it. He saw the RoboCop password. He hacks into RoboCop. So once Dr. Tyler leaves, the assistant, well, he's another doctor too, but I think he's Dr. Tyler's assistant. But he's like, oh, well, RoboCop's sleeping. It's going to be an easy day. And all of a sudden, RoboCop gets up, and he starts sleepwalking, right? And he goes into the prison where the Scrambler is, busts him out, right? And he's freed, and RoboCop wakes up in the next morning, and he's in his chair, and everybody's staring at him. And he's like, good morning, what's going on? And they're like, where have you been, RoboCop? What happened? You just got out and you split. And Sergeant Reed, he's in the movies, Sergeant Reed is there, and he is the constant football analogy guy. Like, that's his one personality trait in this whole series, is like, it's 4th down and goal, and we need to make a 2-point conversion or kick a field goal to get that. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? But it's all football analogies with him. But anyway, he's like, RoboCop, where have you been? You've been gone all night, and a 7-foot monster broke into the prison. And a lot of people said it looked like you. Where have you been? Now, here's the thing with RoboCop. Now I'm starting to pick up a little speed here. Everybody loves RoboCop, but they turn on him so fast, it's nuts. Like, earlier in the episode, it's like, Reed is like, RoboCop, you're everything to us, and you mean the world to us, and we couldn't do this without you, and da-da-da. And then like 2 seconds later, he's like, RoboCop, you piece of junk, you're going to the junkyard. And it's like, whoa, man, calm down, brother. But we have to find out what's going on. So we do a little detective work, and Robo and Lewis go to the prison, and he's like, yeah, this looks like me. I mean, a single person smashed through a wall and freed the Scrambler. I mean, you know, it could very well be me. I don't remember. And so as they're talking, boop, he gets hacked again, and he splits, and Lewis is like, keep calling him Murphy. Lewis is like, Robo, where are you going? Well, nobody seems to follow him. Like, nobody's following him. So, excuse me. So, Robo is now officially hacked, right? And the Scrambler calls up the old man, and he's like, listen, old man, I got RoboCop now. He's with me, and we're going to destroy your evil corporation. And the old man's like, you try it, you whatever. You know, you can't defeat the police. And so Robo, under the control of the Scrambler, goes on a crime wave, destroying OCP property. He destroys like a research lab. He destroys a construction area. He does all this. He goes into a bank. There's a great scene where this bank is getting robbed, and wall smash, and it's RoboCop, and he comes through. And all the people are like, oh, thank God, Robo. And all the villains are like, oh, man, I can't believe Robo's here. And so RoboCop beats up the bad guys, the bank robbers. And then he like picks up the loot and he walks out. And people are like, what? Robo, no. And the cops, one of the criminals is like, he's not a super cop. He's a super criminal now. It was dumb fun. And so, yeah, so Robo is wreaking havoc on the whole OCP, and so the people in OCP are like, you know what, we got to shut him down. Pull the plug on Robo. And so Dr. Tyler and all these people are like, all right, well, you know, RoboCop's defeated the police, he's defeated, there's no one who can stop him, we have to pull the plug on Robo. And Lewis is crying, and she's like, no, you can't kill him. If you pull the plug, it not only turns off RoboCop, but it destroys what humanity is left in him. And Dr. Tyler's like, I don't care. She's like, I don't care about the person. She's like, I've worked 3 years on this project. What a waste, but all right, if I have to turn him off, I have to. Like, she doesn't care about, Dr. Tyler does not care about the human being in RoboCop. She just cares about the robot, like the hardware. And Lewis doesn't care about the hardware, she just cares about the person. And so you see that constant dynamic butting heads constantly throughout the whole series. I mean, that's one of the regular things you see. So they're like, pull the plug. And they pull the plug and everybody's sad. And then the squealer is like, the Scrambler's like, you think you could pull the plug? No way. And because he's in control, and he just like, boop, turns him back on. And the RoboCop is going, and now it's like direct assault against OCP. And so everybody's freaking out because they know RoboCop is heading to the old man. And Lieutenant Hitchcock, who's in the movie as well, a small part, he kind of plays the police antagonist and rival of RoboCop. Like, he's not a good cop. In fact, he's kind of a lousy cop, as they all are on the show. They're all the cops. Like, there's a scene where RoboCop is like, you know, destroying everything's going nuts, right? Or this, I guess, is in a previous episode. But the little nerd who runs the evidence locker is like, you guys need to fill out these requisition forms to get these weapons. You can't just take weapons out of the weapons vault. And so Sergeant Reed is like, shut up, you nerd. There's no time for filling out paperwork. It's like, where's the accountability here, guys? But anyway, that's another side tangent in regards to the OCP police force. So RoboCop is on a direct assault, right? And Hitchcock and the SWAT team can do nothing to stop him, right? They're totally ineffective. And like, you know, tanks are shooting at him, and he's a lot more nimble in the cartoon, obviously, because he kind of jumps around and he can do stuff. And he starts to King Kong his way up the facade of OCP towers. And yeah, and so and they're shooting at him, and he's like, he's going for it, right? They can't stop him, RoboCop. And so he gets up into the 80th floor, and the old man's there, and the two cops that are trying to protect him get knocked out. And he's about to shoot the old man when Lewis comes in. And Lewis is like, Murphy, please, look, you're still human. There's still a person in there. Like, fight it, fight it, fight it. And so you see, like, Murphy's fighting and he can't do it. He's like, am I a robot? Am I a human? Am I a robot? And like feedback, he collapses. And it sends feedback to the Scrambler, who's like, right? Because his headset and everything he's using to control RoboCop just bursts. And so RoboCop wakes up and he's like, thank you, Lewis. I am a human. And so he goes and he gets the Scrambler from where he was, because now he knows everything about the Scrambler. He knows where his location is. And so when the Scrambler wakes up, he's like, oh, I gotta get out of here, see? And so he starts to run. And there's RoboCop, and of course he smashes another wall. And the Scrambler's like, you can't catch me, copper. And so he starts to do a like the fire escape, like you're gonna see some fire escape chase scene. And RoboCop's like, nah. And he just pulls the whole fire escape down. Like, there's no chasing. RoboCop's done. And so we capture the Scrambler. RoboCop's name has been cleared because he's been hacked, which is still very, like, you know, your main hero is very easily hackable. And he's sitting in his recharge chair, and he's really downtrodden, and he's like, you know what, Dr. Tyler's right. I am just a robot who can be hacked and turned off and turned on at the whim of whoever. And Murphy's like, Lewis is like, no, you can't. It's like, didn't you watch this episode? Like, you are human, and your humanity overrid that. So you're not just a robot. You're a real person. And in fact, to celebrate your real personness, I'm gonna take you out to dinner. And RoboCop's like, no, it's okay. And Murphy's like, Lewis is like, why? And he's like, why don't we do takeout instead? And everybody gets a laugh, ha ha ha. And that is episode 2, The Scrambler. This show is, I mean, it's good. Like I said, I watched all 12 episodes. I finished the series. The first episode, the second episode, there's an episode where they go out into the environment, and we learn that OCP is illegally dumping and deforesting the environment. And there's another one where it's like, oh God, episode 6. It's called The Brotherhood. It's all about prejudice against robots, and maybe prejudice in general, prejudice against robots mainly. And then the final episode, episode 12, is when RoboCop finally confronts Clarence Boddicker. Clarence Boddicker didn't die in the animated cartoon world, like in the movies. He's out there, he's alive still, and RoboCop's gonna kill him. And so you have to see what happens. Does he kill him? Does he not kill him? What happens? And and these are the constant themes, you know. RoboCop and his humanity, and the existential crisis that is a cyborg, pretty much. Only 12 episodes. There was a 13th episode planned. Here's a little interesting trivia. There was a 13th episode planned, but it was canceled because it was canceled, but they used the budget for the 13th episode to create Pride of the X-Men, which is the very first cartoon we saw here on the Saturday Morning Cartoon Edition. Yeah, I mean, there was a toy line, so there's a RoboCop and the Ultra Police toy line that was based off of this cartoon. Episode 12, we meet the Ultra Police. And I think it's sort of meant as like a backdoor pilot, right? Isn't that what they call it? Where you introduce characters, see if they catch on, and then you're gonna make a series about them. So there was a RoboCop and the Ultra Police toy line, but generally speaking, I mean, I don't know. I mean, 12 episodes isn't a lot. It was mixed. And I guess, and like we kind of talked about in the beginning, you don't know who to root for. I mean, you root for Robo because he's our hero, but he's also the pawn of a mega evil corporation. And like the Scrambler, you can't help but feel a little, I don't know, a villain versus a villain. You don't care. I mean, you want them both to lose, right? Because they're both the bad guys. And OCP throughout the episode, I mean, in the movie, it's they're bad guys. In the cartoon, it's implied until about halfway through, and then you realize, no, they are really the bad guys. So it's interesting. Overall, though, I mean, hey, if you've got, I don't know, a handful of hours to kill and you're bored, I would watch at least those particular episodes. The first, the second, The Brotherhood, Into the Wild, Into the Wilderness, I think that's what it's called. and the last one, episode 12, that introduces the Clarence Boddicker and the Ultra Police. But yeah, interesting. So like I said, if you're bored, check it out. Thank you for letting me ramble and talk about this RoboCop cartoon series. It was pretty fun, actually. It was pretty fun. I don't know if I would, well, actually I have. I've revisited it a couple times because they're pretty complicated. Some of them can be complicated. Ethical conundrums is what I like to call them. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. Thank you for letting me ramble. Check out Thursday morning, depending on when I put it out, with our All Things Nerdy Entertainment Edition. Thank you so much for watching. As always, have a great Saturday. And remember, stay nerdy.